This is the split stance landmine press with a propulsive bias. What we're gonna do is get a landmine, a barbell setup here. So some gyms actually have that attachment right there. You can put in a weight plate. If you don't have that, you can put a towel around the end of a barbell and put it in a corner, and that would also work. So what we're gonna do is get far enough away from the landmine. This will depend on you as an individual and your limb lengths, but you generally wanna be with your elbows straight down at the ground by your side, and you want your wrist directly stacked over your forearm so it's not cocked in one awkward direction or the other. Now, we also have the same side back that we're pressing with in terms of our feet. So we have our right leg back because our right arm is going to be pressing. Our left foot is about a half step in front of the right foot. So our left midfoot is in line with our right toes. We have Trevor slightly widen his feet out so he's about hip width apart. Perfect. Now, the foot pressures here are important. We want to feel the right inner arch right here and the left heel, keeping both feet flat. We don't want to necessarily feel like we're overly on those points. We're just focused on maintaining those throughout, about a 50-50 split in between both of those feet. Okay, now Trevor's going to make sure he can get stacked. So he wants to keep his eyes directly at the horizon, and he wants to make sure his head is stacked over his rib cage and pelvis. So he just wants to get tall, but then exhale. Feel his rib cage come down without losing any height in his skeleton. He's gonna reach that left arm forward just to make sure he can get a little protraction and reach. So what that kind of feels like is if you were to reach both arms out in front of you, you can get your scapula to move away from your spine, but you're not depressing your sternum. There's a big difference between those two things. That arm is just meant to serve as a reference to keep your rib cage in a good position. Right there. Now, Trevor's going to maintain those foot pressures, and he's going to exhale and simply press that right arm forward, and he's going to get a little bit of a sternum turn at the end. So he's going to feel his sternum turn towards the left side because he's pressing with his right arm, going back down and then going straight up. Notice how his wrist is still stacked over his forearm, and he's keeping the pressures 50% of his weight in his right arch, 50% of his weight in his left heel. And really the only thing that's happening here is the press and the sternum turn. Everything else is remaining in a similar position. Trevor may feel his pelvis slightly turn to the left too as he's pressing. That's okay as long as he's maintaining those foot pressures. The two most common mistakes have to do with setup. So the first is that as people set up for this exercise, they may be too close. And if that's the case, that's going to put them in a really awkward position, and they're not going to be able to press overhead without shrugging their shoulders. Likewise, if you're too far away from it, now you're going to be leaning too far forward, and you're much more likely to also overextend your back. So what we want to do is find that happy medium. Where can you be to where you can keep your head perfectly stacked over your rib cage and pelvis, and you don't want to flare your ribs as you press up? That's the key. Right there would be ideal. And it will depend on you as an individual. You just need to experiment with how far away you are.